Welcome in, welcome in. Glad you guys are here. Man, we've been doing some really good things here, and I hope many find benefits and enlightenment and something to work with on themselves, and some things become a aha, that makes sense, that connects. And if you're new here, don't hesitate sending an email or a question or anything like that, because there's a lot of people waking, right? In the process. I do know processes are happening faster these days because it has to at this time where we're at. It's very fast. I mean, we're in full disclosure now everywhere. People telling you things that would not tell you this things even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago, wouldn't tell you these things because it was all conspiracy theories. Even to where I listened to a sports show the other day, getting some information, and the guy was talking about it, and conspiracies brought up. He goes, well, we need a new one so we can find out it's true in 6 months. This is something that would not hear. Doesn't mean where the disclosure is coming from is truth. I mentioned that on a video the other day, but also who's saying it doesn't mean they're looking for your best interest. That's even the best way to do controlled opposition too. They appear to be for you, but really they're working for the ones that you feel that are not so much for you, that they're part of their ally. But it would be called espionage. But anyways, it's funny, we have this thing written in the Constitution for your right to own firearms for domestic, foreign and domestic. And I'm telling you, boy, the second one is the one that's happening, the D word. But anyways, man, what you guys think that last video that I created and put out there about the equivocal language of English, the spells galore, right? People always thought puppy dog tails and a little cinnamon and a little hair from somebody and da 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 da, and that may work in some black magic, but the magic they use is spells, as in spelling. Cast a spell, cast a language, cast a vibration, cast a word, speak that word. It's creative. It can be destructive too. Life and death's in the power of what? The tongue. Because what you speak in abracadabra is what you create. You want to create a havoc, just keep speaking havoc, and havoc will come back to you, because you don't get back what you want, you get back what you are in the reflective mirrors of a holographic universe, where what you speak and what you are and what your energy projects is what you reflect and comes back to you. Also known, it can be karma. But anyways, I got a lot to share. This is going to connect to what I just been doing recently, even yesterday, the last video. This will very much connect with that. It will, in a very, very strong way. Even in what we did yesterday, and I really looked at it because I've had it, looked at it, recorded it, and I started looking at will, and I started looking at how will, to me, I see wheel within a will, or will within a will, right? When your will's not strong, as you start sinking low, that's actually a song, Led Zeppelin song. And the name of that song where that says the sinking low, when your will is going down and you're sinking low, is from In the Light. That's the name of the song. Just hit me. God made me need to do some, I definitely, after the video about the Who, Doctor Who, and the Who, I'm like, I gotta do some breakdowns of some Who songs. But anyways, here we go. I'm gonna share some pages, because this is gonna align with this and also be included in this, and it will connect it, and I will connect the dots, but it's something to think about. Because I will connect the overall dots of why. So, all right. You don't see this, but let me pull this down a little bit. Maybe there. Heck of in the way for me. Anyways, let's start with this. So we're going to do the word will, right? We know there's will, like William, a name. Willpower, or you say your will is your will strong. Will name is your will strong. Well, then we call it willpower. And then we have, again, a will, right? Think about it. You got will, which is short for William, but it's will. It's also connected to willpower, which is your will strong? Like I said, the will within a will. And the name will, right? This would go exactly with what I was talking about, having these words that have this confusion of why we have so many wills, like why are there so many theirs? We found out that's all connected to the equivocal, right? I mean, that's what yesterday was about, that you were operating in English equivocal language. There's an older English in this version that's called Old English. There used to be a beer called that, still might be out there. I don't really drink like that. But I remember the day it was called Old English 800. Is it still around? If it is, no, it's called Old English 800. It's probably a code in that 800. That's because that's how this reality works. But Old English was not the same as the New English. And you say, what do you mean? It's not. It's changed. The New English was giving credit to I believe a monk from the Catholic Church, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, along with the calendar by Rome. So the monk, the Roman monk, made the language, and then the Rome made the calendar. And we went over how Janus is a god for January, and we celebrate January 1st as being the New Year's, but our ancestors didn't, because most of them celebrated it in springtime, and even some in using the moon calendar, a lunar calendar, may even do it in fall. And then I see like some do, like the Chinese are having theirs lunar calendar in February, I believe. No, it was January, towards the end of January. And that only not even 270, 200, not even quite 300 years, 273 years have we had January 1st, I think 1752, when it came officially as being, which is after the god Janus, a Roman god, meaning it's a Roman holiday, it's a Roman New Year's, and you're selling it. And why is the United States so copy of Rome? Rome on the Potomac. When we went over this, but let's get into to will, because there's something I'm going to break down about the will. Okay, let's start here. Will, the verb, William, to wish, desire, be willing, right? That would go into your willpower. Proto-Germanic, Wiljan, source Old Saxon, William, Old Norse, William or Vilia, and then on at Willa, and with these different German and Gothic Wiljan, will desire, Gothic Waljan, to choose. The Germanic words from the pi, right? These are the names, and the word, chooses. So it's talking about more your will, not really the name. The name was first, right? And then it goes into the power part, into will, wish, will, chosen, eligible, choosing, which is kind of making choices, which could be connected to the will, which is connected to the will, compared to Old English, according to one's wish, well-being, riches. So we see that it covered willpower and this. But here's the one, too, I want to go look at here as you go on, related to will, determination, purpose. It goes down the noun, goes into German meaning, and again into the Saxon, Old Norse, Old Frisian, into even Dutch, into German. I'm going to skip this because this is what I want, and then see will, verb, and then it goes into the will, the noun. The meaning, written document expressing a person's wishes about, there's wishes about disposition or disposition of the property after death is first recorded late 14th century, will. To determine a choice, dispose of a will or testament. There's your testament. There's your testes again that we did videos on. The testament, the New Testament, the new testes, circular balls. I mean, it's right in front. It's there. I did a video on this with testament on the videos. But you see, it's a written document putting forth your will or your testament and stuff. And then, of course, in the willing, related, willful, all connected to that. So we're going to go out of it and go over here. So willpower, meaning control exerted to do something or restrain. So you can do something or restrain from doing something with will, and they added the power, right? The willpower. This would mean when your will within you starts being very powerful, you are able to make changes in your life, right? You're able to choose to restrain from something or choose to exert something, exert your energy into your will, or restrain from, usually it would be changing of habits. And I think it says this, most of our bad habits are due to laziness and the lack of willpower. Let's even see what they try to tell us. The ability to delay gratification, resisting short-term temptations or to meet long-term goals. Willpower. That's a good one. So we know that will, you add a little power to it. It's a name of William, and then we see that it's also a will, right? Expressing the future tense, will. Events, expressing inevitable events, accidents will happen, will. This is what I wanted to say, a will. They call it, but it's will. A will, or last will and testament, is a legal document that describes how you should and what would you like your property and other assets to be distributed after your death. So we know that people, all of us may have wills, or our ancestors have wills, and you may have inherited something from the will, right? Whatever it may be, sums of money, large sums of money. Notice this is coming from the English, so I'm going to tell you this, the powers that be there. So when you have a will, is really so you can keep pushing even after you decease physically, your will forward. So we leave maybe somebody with some directions, a loved one, and give somebody some money or give somebody some valuables. Leave some things that were important to them that were not important, that were important to them, to a certain ones. And you may say, hey, we want to write a will to give Jane dough, give her some dough, and give Bill some will, whatever it is, your gold or your silver or your stereos or your library, whatever it may be. And many of us who have received or haven't received, maybe just received their belongings that were valuable to them with maybe no real value in money, but the value was that it belonged to them, and it was from them, and you loved them, and to receive it was a blessing to you because it was more than the cash value for it, right? If this makes sense, which I'm pretty sure it will. Then I'm going to get in will. There's a name will, which we talked about and we read in the etymology, will, right? You got the will, a will, and will. Your strength within. Do you have the will to turn your wheel? Will, etymology, it makes sense. What if you're ultra powerful, ultra rich, ultra in power, BBs, and them in that likeness, corporations, people with ultra power in those corporations, blue BBs again, and just really rich people who are been in power, and you pass away and you write your will, and your will is given to the family, and it says do this because you might get some little cash from your mom and dad or a house or something, but these folks are really a lot of money, a lot of power, may send out a whole thing with a business and who to carry on the business, and then directions how to operate it in the future. So really, they learned the will would be to carry on their will even after they pass physically, because their will really is them distributing their will still in the visible plane with visible people, even to the point of the BBs, so things get done. That's why things can be arranged to be planned for hundreds and 200 years, or even nothing quick, right? We know a lot of this planning was even recent, was from mentioned in Albert Pike from the 1800s, late 1800s, when he told the plans in his book, Morals and Dogma, right? Of what World War I, II, III, Russian Revolution would be all about, and what it would bring forth, what fruit it would bear, who would push back, what you would keep alive even though you pushed it down, and then bring it back up for your purpose again by using it. So what I'm saying is a lot of these in power have used the will really as a document, written document, to put their will to keep going in their planning of everything. By signing the document and signing the paper, it gave an energetic signature to stay in their willpower, even though they physically may have passed by the will, because the will is the will, because in the English language you could have 3, 4 wills. It don't matter. It's equivocal. Does this make sense? Their willpower is being pushed in their will. And a very, very micro-based, ours is kind of too, when I mentioned the first people, like maybe you were left a beautiful antique couch. The memory of that person that left it to you, that ancestor, did give you their will, and it has a vibration and frequency to the family, but it doesn't really control outside of itself of giving it to this person and the memories and connections of the loved one that it was given from. But this is a different level I'm talking about. I'm talking about them that would be BBs and Romans and that pushing, goes with the empress. The emperors and the empresses got that noble name or title, not while they were ahead of an empire, but when the empire fell, they became emperors and empresses. When I read that, I go, wow, I never thought that, because they were still pushing their will generations after they physically passed away, is what I'm saying. A will written by them in power is pushing their will even 100 years to keep going with this plan, keep going with this plan, keep going, and giving instructions, not just giving a nice antique, but giving instructions how to run the company, how to run what we're doing, and how to keep this going. That's why they keep everything within themselves. Make sense? The one who really hit me with this the other day when they said it, and I was like, what? It hit me revelation-wise, was they pushed their will, wrote their will to push their will forward with their agendas. And I go, whoa, man, I see that. And then I had to really look at that and meditate, and I go, wow, and think about this and just go on the unity of oneness. It makes sense in decoding, and we're seeing stuff what them in power are not hidden from us. This is the revealing, the revelation, the veil rent. That's why you can have jokers give you disclosure that's truth, but they're not really got your back. Makes sense, right? That's why I mentioned the other video the other day. You got Joe Biden saying, get ready for the oligarchy. He's not lying, but the oligarchy was already here. He's part of it. Or even a few years ago, Trump saying that's false news in his last when he was president last time. Oh, that's false news. He's not lying. We've known it's false news and been propped a long time ago. We knew. You were told then you had a tinfoil hat if you'd said this. Now nobody says that no more. He said it, but didn't mean he was looking out for your best interest. There's a difference between them who are laboring and telling you the truth out of love and unity and oneness and them who are just disclosing. I mean, disclosure's everywhere. Even sometimes the news will say the disclosure. Joe Rogan's over there disclosing all the time. People are disclosure, but it doesn't mean their disclosure is looking out for the best from you and their spirits. They could be spiritually, but what spirit are they spiritually? And I even mentioned this the other day. I looked at this and it was mentioned to me a long time ago by Seven. He goes, what is spirituality? And then I was like, man, what is it? Spirituality. He goes, you got to learn how to study spirits. Some spirits are connected to you because they're in the same frequency and vibration as you. And some, they may be going over there and going to Bohemian Grove, taking ayahuasca, doing some rituals, but it ain't for the plus of you. In addition to you, it's still the division on you, and they may still be participating in stuff that's spiritual. But what do you discern about that? And this is where we're at. The will, and if you got things going, I'm not telling you not to write your will, but your will is not driving humanity into your will. It may be just giving and keeping the memories within your ancestors and giving you something that belonged to, giving you money if they have it to give, having investments they have to benefit their bloodline, see, but not to affect others around them. I remember my daddy gave me like this old jewelry box and different aspects he had of stuff when he even went to when he was out of the country and when he was in, I think, Thailand or something. He gave me a jewelry box he gave there, was left for me. Besides a few other trinkets that went with it and other things that went with it, it was made out, I think, bamboo and some other stuff. And I'm just like looking, he was giving that to me as he dispersed his will, right? And the other stuff, but this didn't control the mindset of the people. What I'm talking about when the BBs and Rome or ultra rich people from the BG rocking the feller do it. You can see their ancestors now when you look back at them, because they're really carrying out the will. Even the now BG in Seattle, who in the biggest city with the biggest needle, pushing the biggest agenda, we seen one of the agendas we seen recently in the cootie age, right? And there's a big needle in Seattle, the biggest needle in the world in Seattle, pushing an agenda that goes back. That's why I even said the education system was connected from Rockefeller and Gates, and it was not meant to aid you into being an intellectual or free thinker. It was to lock you as if you go read the 1907, I did an old video on it, but if you want to, just go look up the 1907 school board meeting and you'll find out plans. And you'll go, what? Wasn't to make you a free thinker or anything in those types of things. It was so you obeyed your masters. Like good sheep go in the pen when the sheep herder puts them in. I'm just telling you facts right now. These are just facts. And the Prussian system, which is where you get the Prussian system is where you find out in Prussia, right? I did a video on this way back. The Prussian education system came from Prussia because the soldiers would not obey the generals, and they lost a war because they would not walk on traps where they didn't want to be all slaughtered because they knew a slaughterhouse was awaiting them. So they didn't obey, they lost the war, and then they said, we got to make these children, through our school systems, be obedient and not to free think. That's where it is. Prussia, the 1907 school board meeting, and on and on and on, was making you, it was part of the will carried on from their ancestors, and now you see their sons and their grandsons, granddaughters pushing the same agendas on us. Why? Because their will was set in a will, so their will would be done through their will. And I'm like, think about it. Think about it. And then, this is also, as we've seen earlier, Watch this. Oh, Will is a boy's name, typically used as a nickname, shortened version of like William, Wilford, Willis, signifies strong, determined character due to the association with the word willpower. So they empowered their willpower, through the documents of their plans, which was their will. It's right there, folks. Yeah. Yep. So think about that. They had their will and plans, but their plans aren't just for the family to get some good gifts of some successes you had in business or what you own or the love you had for them and the adoring, and they maybe even had a smaller business and you wanted your grandson, because he's more business minded than the other grandson or the granddaughter, whatever the case may be, to carry on a mom and pop shop. Or this is to put the will on everybody else, which is a type of sorcery. Not type, is. I'm not going to speak it in English and equivocal. It is. To have their plans go forth, which affects everybody in their mindset, a power of how things will keep going in a matrix made thing. So the will power became written in their will to assert it on everybody, their will. And then, as you see, the willpower, because the will is the same word. This is this English equivocal, dubious, okey doke, stuff that they always do where, these words, like in the song Stairway to Heaven, sometimes words have two meanings, meaning decode the word because it has other meanings. You don't know the English language, that it's equivocal, it's obscure, it's evading and deceiving you. We talked about this, and this is connected to it. The BBs do it, definitely them in charge, enlarged and in charge. We know there's multiple, 12, 13 families this is connected to, that even in the higher, those we don't see are the string pullers, just like the Wizard of Oz, right? The Wizard of Oz was telling you plans. I seen even another version popped up that my somebody shared with me. Another one of the 30-somethingers shared with me. It was another version. I looked at the first version of the Scarecrow was within you, the fears you had, and the Tin Man, heartless, and lack of heart opening. I could see that, but it even went to a more exoteric, which was fine. Exoteric doesn't have to always be bad. That which is within is without, just as that which is above within, but you need to start within to reflect that which is without. That's a creative force of giving the mirrored frequency, holographic frequency, that you get what you are, not get what you want. If you keep saying, I'm broke and I need money, you will remain broke and need money. I want a wife or I want a husband. Please, 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 you won't get one until you start speaking it differently and operating in your reflection. Then that's when it's opening, like being grateful, right? Grateful. If you're grateful for the small things, the big things come to you, the bigger things. So we're looking at the holographic reality of this and how this was painted through the will to have somebody's will. Hunch, Rockefeller, Gates, Frederick T. Gates, these are all the Gates now, talking about Microsoft, doing the will of his grandparents, father, and all of them through the process of what's happening. And by having wills with these ones in charge, notice in charge, like electrical outlet, charge your phone, in charge, will always put their will to be outside of themselves, to have power in the external, which means ruler over you when you remain They feel that you're cattle and you have to be thought for and led because you don't have the sense enough to do it. But we know when we go through deception and go through the awakening, if everybody's on unity, that game would be over because that game's weak and it's not solid and it's unfounded because it's built on deception and evasiveness and trying to keep power just in one realm, the physical 3D lowest vibration construct. That's how the construct works. So here we go. We got Will, and Will. Will has his last name of Power. We got the Will. And then we got Will, which could be William or Willis. What's up, Willis? What are you talking about, Willis? But it was really about the will, power, being written in a will so they can continue their will on humanity in the future by writing the will. Because will is all the same. It's just covered in a very evasive, very deceiving language called English, which is an English, an angle. And I said in the last video, like in the street talk, when you say, "What you up to, bro? What's your angle? What kind of angle you trying to get on me?" English, an angle of deception, an angle of power, an angle of deception. What game you running on me? Angle. In the slang, right? So the will, power, their plans were written in a will so that their descendants would keep that going because they've been instructed through the will. It's not like just us folks who might, like I said, get a few antiques, get some money that's living to you. That doesn't affect anybody else outside of us, but their version of the BBs, like I said, them in power, them that are ultra rich, them that own corporations, them BlackRock and all those, all them, to keep it going. That's why Microsoft Gates got his will from his granddads to keep this, and the Rockefellers the same. Like I said, the Rockefeller said, this is what the school's going to be like. You're going to be followers and you're going to be sheep. You're not going to be free thinkers. That's why a lot of you who didn't go through the school system woke up, because you were protected to know that's a gamey game. And you weren't about it probably because you lived this many times and you knew the game already. I remember back in 2008, I had a dream and I walked through four different 100-year frames, like the 16, 17, and 1800s. I think it was the 16, 17, or 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe 1900s in this one dream that seemed like a movie to me that seemed to last 3 hours. Probably was only 5 minutes in linear time. And I seen in the very last part of it, in the last century, the queen threw me in a dungeon. Because what I was speaking and the truth I was bringing forth about the system. She finally let me in because she said, the people love you. I'm letting you out, but don't ever say anything about the you-know-who's. Don't mention the you-know-who's. I think you may know what that is. Let me turn this down. And I had this dream, and when I have dreams, certain dreams, I know this is a very in-depth dream. I remembered every little thing in it, very, very deep. I traveled in these spaces. I remember what the people look like. I remember how they looked at me. I remember. Almost remember the 5th of November. Right? And then you start looking at it. That's why history had, this is an aspect why history repeats itself. It's written in the will of them in power, of the 3D physical plane of this lower realm that sometimes I'll just call the lower base of Dante's Inferno, or call it hell. It's not high enough frequency to be a collective yet, because you can't be collective. It's separation consciousness. You think you're separated from source. And then you have amnesia don't even know what source is and why am I here. But that's a whole different video on the story. let me unshare this, but I had to share this today, how this was connected with my former video with the language, how this was connected to the former video before that with the BBs. BB, you know what I mean? Not bread and breakfast. You know what I mean. But anyways, you guys have a great day because you guys are the true ones. You're the ones that are being used because you're the ones with the energy, because you're not black hole beings and lackluster, because many of you here are not looking for the physical reality to dominate. You're looking to ascend to a collective unity, Christ consciousness. And with that, you have a good day on Saturday, which I think means in to their terms Saturn Day. Have a great day.